Warning: the following podcast contains conversations about incest and murder. Please see the timestamp on screen or in the description to skip to the lighter topics. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hello and welcome to this episode of the Waypoint podcast. I am your host, LeighErin, and I am joined by Bob, aka Alec.
Hello.
I have
I'm
Austin.
drinking tonight.
Yes.
Alec is drinking tonight. I repeat, Alec is drinking tonight. Hi, my name's Austin. I'm here.
We also have Austin. And we have Josh.
Howdy. I have been told Alec is drinking tonight. I'm all about it.
I just got done with a big project at work. I'm having a little treat yourself day, so.
Treat yourself, yeah.
Checks out.
So there is something I like to do to Jordan, which is I wait until a certain point in the afternoon when I know in New York it's later and he's probably engaged in some adult substances.
Hell yeah.
And I will find from watching television shows, good stretch, from all sorts of stuff. I will find sorry. It really is a reflex.
Sorry, just mid hosting. Good stretch. Back to what we're doing.
And I'll get them from television shows. I'll get them from all over. Questions that I know something very specifically in the question will make him uncomfortable, but making a choice by what makes him uncomfortable goes against what he feels morally. And I ask him because it's really fun to watch him have a meltdown.
Okay.
Because like he can't decide. Like this is one of the ones where I don't know if he ever actually gave me an answer to what his opinion, like what he would do.
Mm-hmm.
And so this one is a scenario that I will explain where I got it afterwards. But
all right,
are you guys ready?
Yeah, I've been ready for the last 2 weeks since we talked about doing this, and I've been building it up, and knowing there's a question asked to Jordan, I'm like, is there going to be a horny factor? Is there something like Spider-Man related? What is the question?
I feel like
yeah,
that's worth diving into a little bit because we were going to record this podcast a week ago, and then we had a bunch of technical issues and it just didn't happen. So LeighErin and Jordan were like, we have this cool question, we're gonna ask it on the podcast, and we just didn't hear it. And our anticipation is just like, okay, this better be good.
Nobody knows it. It's a big scenario, so I'm gonna read it all out, give you all the information that you need, and then hear what you would do. Also, this takes place during a very specific time because it's important to the scenario.
Right.
So, you were an OBGYN surgeon in Los Angeles County in the early 2000s, things like roughly 2006 to 2008. You work at a private practice in fertility when a married heterosexual couple in their 20s, Brad and Lena, come to you because they were having trouble getting pregnant. Both Brad and Lena were born in LA and raised here, as were their parents. They've been best friends since they met in middle school, and they've been dating since high school, got married at 18, and have been trying to have kids for 5 years since. You can see that they are very in love and would make good parents, and you would like to help them conceive. As is the standard starting procedure for fertility options, you take blood, semen, and urine for genetic testing, sperm count, and hormone levels. When the genetic testing comes back, it reveals that a quarter of Brad and Lena's genes are identical. This is only possible if they share one parent. They are half brother and sister. Intrigued, you look further back in their medical history and find that they were both born by sperm donors in LA County in the late 1980s. Due to where fertility treatments were in the 1980s, there were only 5 clinics in LA County, and sperm donation was not as common as it is today. Brad and Lena are a 1 in a million case. Their parents happened to use the same sperm donor from the same fertility clinic 20 years ago. This never came up because neither couple ever discussed how they conceived their own children with each other because, why would you? That's not how you open a conversation with your kid's friend's parents. It's like, hey, how'd you have her? And they didn't meet until after their children became friends. Additionally, Lena knew she was born with a sperm donor, but Brad did not know. You have informed Brad and Lena that they cannot have children that are biologically their own, and LA County won't allow them to adopt because their marriage isn't technically legal. The next day, Brad and Lena return to your practice and tell you that being together is more important than having children. Lena asks you to tie your tubes so they can continue to be together and have sex with each other without risking a pregnancy they would have to terminate. They were not raised as siblings. They've only known each other for 10 years. And they've only known they were related for less than 24 hours. If they divorced, they would either have to lie or admit to incest and probably lose all of their friends because people are freaked out by incest. Do you perform the procedure and tie a 25-year-old woman's tubes who 24 hours ago desperately wanted children and not report the case to the state, allowing them to stay with the love of their lives? Or do you refuse the surgery, report the marriage, and force them to divorce?
Okay, this is extremely heavy, but before we even talk any of this, I want to say spoilers for 12 minutes. And I'm not going to go into anything else except that. If you know 12 minutes, it includes this, okay? Just go from there.
I didn't know that.
Okay, so can you just read the last two questions again?
Would you perform the procedure, tie Lena's tubes, sterilizing her, so that they can continue to have a normal marriage as if they never found out they were brother and sister? Or do you refuse the surgery, report the marriage to the state, and which would then force them to divorce?
And so basically humiliate them.
So there is no gray area. It's that or the other thing. There's
you have one or the other. You either do it or you don't. And remember, she's 25, and 24 hours ago, she told you that having kids was like something she's been trying for 5 years.
Yeah, that's why I'm leaning towards not tying her tubes, because she can still have kids with someone who isn't her biological sibling, like in the future. Like this will eventually blow over, kind of a thing. Like it will be a hellish couple years probably. She probably needs to move away. You know what I mean? Escape all that. But yeah, I don't think I would tie her tubes. Plus, I'm a medical professional, right? Yeah. So if like the book says, yeah, don't do this and report it, that's probably what I would do, unfortunately.
Okay.
Yeah.
You guys are doing better than Jordan. Jordan got stuck on one very particular detail.
I want to know what the detail is.
Them just fucking because it's Jordan.
Jordan got really stuck on. He got into this whole argument with me about how like he feels like if siblings were separated at birth, they would know when they saw each other that they were siblings.
This isn't a movie.
I gave him I gave him an elaborate example about like one of his sisters not being raised, and then he got really upset, and like the conversation kind of ended there.
Damn.
Alec and Josh, what are your thoughts?
So, do you want to go first, Alec?
Sure. Well,
take it away. Take it away.
My first instinct was, and granted, I have been drinking, so this is just the first thing that came to mind. Tie the tubes. That's
yeah.
That was my first instinct too, and I'm glad we're on the same page. However, I did look up, because I am I'm pretty ignorant when it comes to a lot of medical stuff. I did look up if this could be reversed, and so far, I've read that it can be it can be successfully done. 50 to 80% of women who have the reversal can still give birth. So I'd say yes, because if say they break up further down the line or anything like that, she can still get a reversal and have kids as she wishes, just hopefully with someone who isn't also her half brother next time around, hopefully. But yeah, if it can be reversed, I'm not a narc, all right? Snitches get stitches, okay? I'm not gonna report them to LA. Also weird that there's an incest case. When you were reading this off, I was like, weird there's an incest case in California, and this isn't Texas or Alabama or something. Then
Alabama.
Alabama. And then you're like, all right, sperm donation. So I get it, but yeah, this was
so.
The final question wasn't tricky, but the setup there was.
Yeah. So potential loophole? Could she freeze her eggs and then, if they break up, like?
I mean, realistically, yeah, because so where I got this from was it happens in a television show, and it was in the whole arc of that episode is the doctors trying to decide what they're gonna do.
Right.
And I don't know if it was because it was 2006, but I was like, why not take one of her eggs and get a sperm donor? As weird as that might sound in this situation. And then just do it that way, because then you don't have that issue as long as the sperm donor is not going to be related to her. Like,
right.
Why not? Like, I feel like it's fine. And like, here's the thing with, and here's the reason I'm not a doctor. Mandated report. Yeah, sure, doctor, and you're mandated report. You got mandated reporting, but if they're not going to snitch, and you're not going to snitch, and they're not going to have a fucked up incest baby,
Win, wins around.
Let them be happy.
That wasn't an option, though. For the record, it was one or the other. It was tie their tubes or don't, and and there were caveats for both. That's why I went for doing that. That was information I didn't know. You could reverse tying the tubes. That was something I didn't know. But I mean, risking your livelihood as being a doctor is a part of this too, because you're a medical professional. If people find out about this, then you're kind of screwed. I made an assumption, and this is my assumption, that they would break up. Like, they would do the right thing and break up. I know they love each other, but like.
Well, this is the whole debate: is how much does environment play into a sibling relationship? Because like, if you're not raised as siblings, you don't know there's even a possibility of you being siblings. Do you look at that person like Jordan, where he was like, I feel like I would know, and I'm like, but how would you know?
This is one of those things where, like, if they were to stay together, they would have to have a super modified relationship. Like, in my mind, they can't have sex. Like, they can't be physically emotional, like, in that way.
Then why be in the relationship?
That's what I'm saying. But that's the whole thing, though. There are people that are asexual and are in relationships. So like, where they don't get, doesn't work that way. So there are relationships who
don't have sex. Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
I also learned that the reason him getting a vasectomy, which is more easily. Getting a vasectomy is an outpatient procedure. Getting your tubes tied or getting that reversed is like a whole thing. Yes.
I did want to add that in the case that I actually was a medical professional, like Alec brought up the eggs thing, and then Josh went quickly to getting your tubes tied. Like, I would probably, as a medical professional, have tons of other options instead of the two blank, without gray area options that you were presented to us. So I just want that on the table, that we're like, in reality, it wouldn't be one or the other. It would be A, B, C, D, E, F, G. You know what I mean?
That's the fun of these hypothetical questions.
100%. I just think it's a caveat for a serious topic that needs to be said.
And that's why I was saying that the time frame is really important, because like the early 2000s for like fertility medicine was not as advanced as it was now. I can tell you from personal experience at the time, and even now, some doctors still don't consider that having your tubes tied can be undone. They all kind of consider it like you're done. But I don't know. I'm just kind of like, you don't know what's fucked up is in the show. The big twist at the end is you find out that he's actually always known. He's known for like 4 years that they're siblings, and just didn't tell her because he didn't want to break up. And that part made me uncomfortable. That's where I went from this is okay to this is fucking weird.
Play 12 minutes. just play 12 minutes.
What show is this? What show is this, by the way? Private Practice.
It's the Grey's Anatomy spinoff.
I've definitely heard of that.
Of course, it's Grey's Anatomy. Yeah, of course it is, dude.
So
the situation and the twist.
I in college loved Grey's Anatomy, and I rewatch it when I like need something mindless in the background because I've seen it so many times. And I finally decided to watch the spinoff show. So I was like, oh, what the fuck? Like, there are good actors on it. Let's see. Terrible. It's a terrible show. All that characters are horrendous people. They are all horrible people. And they do terrible, terrible things that are against medical ethics all the time. In this case, though, they do report it because the guy has known. And once she finds out that he's known the whole time, she's like, no, thank you.
Yeah. If I had tied the tubes And then after the fact, he was like, "Yeah, I know," and like I'd be fucking pissed. I'd be
Yeah.
like, "Are you
Oh, yeah.
shitting me, dude? I put my fucking medical license on the line for you, dude, and you've known the whole time."
Yeah. And it's like, I don't know. I just really get wrapped up in like, if you're not raised with your family, you would never know that they're your family. So like, this is
Mhm.
gonna sound fucked up, but something kind of similar to this happened near my hometown, and it made national news where a girl had been put up for adoption, found her biological father, fell in love with her biological father, and married him. And then, murdered some people, which is why it made national news.
Ah, yes. There's
What?
the
That was
caveat.
There's the
Yeah.
twist.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Excuse me.
she got
That needs to
adopted
be a
and
movie.
dude, it's wild.
That
It's
sounds like a
the
Grey's
most wild
episode.
thing on the planet.
Sounds like
And
13 minutes. Am I right?
Yep, the sequel.
and Jordan and I talk about this all the time. Like Jordan brought this up when we had the initial argument. Jordan kind of landed on he thinks it's icky regardless that they're related and wants them to break up because it makes him uncomfortable. Is almost
Right.
word for word his
That's
answer.
where I'm at too, but in my mind, it's like if they do stay together, like I said before, it has to be some sort of modified relationship. I can see them being so intertwined at this point where it's like, okay, like we're gonna do this, but like A, B, and
Mhm.
C have to change. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right.
And in Jordan tried to compare this to what happened in Dover, where basically this girl got put up for adoption, met her birth father, fell in love with her birth father, got pregnant with his kid, and murdered, I think, her adoptive parents. And then I think they both died since. I think they did a murder-suicide at the end because they knew they were going to prison for a long, long time. But there's obviously a lot more going on in that scenario than there is here.
This is like
Yeah.
this sounds like a 45-minute like documentary on Netflix. The thing you're
It's
telling me.
It's wild. Yeah, it's the craziest. I'm trying to find because they died recently. I'm trying to find the layout from when it happened.
Mhm.
Okay, here we go. Dover Plains woman shocks world, pregnant with father's baby. Get out of here.
What a headline.
Woman. Yeah, I know,
Yeah.
right? What a headline. The woman who made headlines around the world for planning to marry her biological father is from right here in her own backyard. This is from my hometown's local paper. The story of Stephen Pallid and Katie Pallad's twisted romance has been trending since yesterday. This happened in 2018. The cringeworthy couple were arrested in North Carolina for incest after announcing they were pregnant and planning on getting married despite it being against the law. Sordid details about the father and daughter's relationship have been plastered all over the media, but the one most shocking for most people is that was buried away below the headlines on Monday. Katie Pallid was up for adoption as a child and only reconnected to her biological father through social media after she turned 18. It then shows that the 16-year-old was attending high school in Dover Plains and would be attending Dutchess Community College, which is where Jordan went for 2 years in the fall. Wait, that means she just turned 18 or was she at Dutchess while Jordan was at Dutchess?
We got to know.
I think she was at Dutchess when Jordan was at Dutchess, which is something we've never put together.
Did you
Wow.
walk the halls with a murderer?
Yeah.
Oh, hey, and then she went to SUNY Purchase, which is also where Jordan went. Huh,
Jordan, you
that's
have some
fun.
explaining to do. Like,
Oh my
Yeah,
god,
is this
guys,
dude.
lady
SUNY Purchase
following
is
you?
a wild place.
Yeah. Jordan could change this woman's life. Made things a lot less
Yeah,
fucked
shame
up,
on
but
you, Jordan. Come on, Jordan.
yeah.
Oh my god. Yeah.
Yeah.
All it takes is 12 minutes. Sorry, I need to stop.
We get it. You like 12 minutes.
Yeah.
I like it more than most, honestly.
Yeah, things didn't work out as planned. 2 years later, Katie reconnected with her biological parents online, moved from Dover Plains to North Carolina to live with them. There, she says she fell in love with her dad. After her biological father divorced her biological mother, she announced on Instagram that she was pregnant with her biological father's baby and planned to marry him. They were charged with incest, and then they murdered some people.
And then they murdered.
Yeah. Wait. Did she wreck the home of her biological parents? Did she come in there and like?
Yes.
Was the divorce
broke up
already
her-
planned?
No.
Wow.
He
Wrecking your own
left his
home.
wife
Inside job.
He left his wife for his biological daughter.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, I thought maybe there's like already some shit going on. Maybe the divorce papers just need to be signed, and
No.
like she came in 80% through the process to fucking go there and then start that whole process. All it took was 12 minutes. Crazy.
Crazy.
Yeah. It's
Was
wild.
the
And
woman the
then
biological mother, or
yeah.
no? Oh, it was.
Damn.
That's what the reports all made it sound like. When this was big news, it made it sound like that was the biological mother. Because
Right.
everybody was calling it like Oedipus and like all this shit because and he killed a bunch of people. Like
Yeah.
I'm trying to find who they killed. She comes back home. She gets pregnant with this kid. They get married. They
You guys
have the
wanna
kid.
start a
Yeah.
serial killer podcast?
Yeah. Honestly.
Sorry.
Hmm.
Yeah. So the guy knew that Katie was going to visit his grandmother. So Stephen, who was in New York, so Stephen followed her to New York. At this point, Katie ended the relationship with her biological father after having the baby, which no one really knows why.
What's the point then? Oh my god, what a waste.
Yeah. And then he killed her adoptive father, and the baby, and himself. And
Wow.
it was like wild for like months. This case was
Yeah.
like all anyone was talking about because everybody was just like, every turn it got worse. Like it just got so
Yeah.
much worse at every turn. But
Hmm.
yeah, so that's where Jordan went with this. Is he was like, I feel like you'd have to be crazy, and I'm like, but they didn't. Because Austin, you were saying, why don't you send notes? And I can tell you what Jordan was like, brought this up, and he was like, they have to be crazy to like be together after while they're brother and sister. I was like, well, they didn't know, and he was like, how do you not know? Like, well, if you're not raised in the same social settings, like,
Hmm.
how the
In
fuck
my
do you
mind,
know?
you wouldn't know. Like
Yeah.
it's just not some magical like beep 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 like
Yeah.
oh no, don't do it. Um, but in my mind, the second part of that is once you find out, it's done. Like, nope, sorry, it's probably a
Well,
blessing we couldn't have kids. Like at this
Right.
point, like
Oh
well,
yeah.
this is the next question I was going to pose was,
there's a part
and if you're
two.
uncomfortable, there is. And if you're
Oh
uncomfortable
no.
answering this, you don't have to. I asked Jordan because I knew it would short wire his brain. I was like, "Okay." If you were in this situation, would you immediately want a divorce? If you were one of the people in the situation, love of your life, everything about them is perfect. You guys are best friends. You've never had problems. You've been together since you were 14. Like, you're now 24. You've been together for 10 years. Would you
Did you
divorce?
was the question, would you immediately want a divorce? Was that the
Yeah.
question?
Yes.
Probably not
Would you?
immediately, no.
Yeah. You think you'd need like
I would
convincing?
probably come to that conclusion eventually, but
Hmm.
yeah, like but as soon as I learn this like life-changing information, like there's no relationship at that point. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like it
Especially if they
we
knew the
might not
entire time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. That again. That's the
that's
part where the show
true.
got weird. I didn't like that he knew the entire time.
If I knew the entire time, then fuck me. Like
Yeah.
done.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like,
If you
but
knew the
we're.
entire time, you're a piece of shit.
He
Mhm,
was
mhm.
like, but we're even closer. Like, I just like I don't know.
Don't
Like,
phrase it like
I don't
that. It's
care,
bad
my
enough
man.
you know, but if you phrase it like, "Oh, we're even closer now because we're brother and sister," like, dude, don't. Like, oh
That's
my,
just messed up.
He
yeah,
was like,
that's.
we're both allergic to grass and bees. I assumed you knew too. How is that what you project this off? Is like, is that what made you think you were related? You're both blonde and allergic to bees? Like,
Wow,
fuck, dude.
wow.
It's fucking weird. And like he calls her soulmate. He's like crying on his knees, begging her to stay with him, and she's like bucking the fuck
Oh
out.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And
the
Oh,
fact that he knew in this fake
show.
TV
Yeah.
show thing changes literally everything, in
Yeah.
my
Mhm.
opinion.
Yep.
mhm.
Because listen, I can go on an entire rant about how all the doctors in private practice deserve to have their license taken away, but that one, I give them
The
I give them
pass.
a little leeway. Yeah.
Right, right.
Well,
Mhm.
because they have a therapist in the practice, and I was talking to one of my friends who went to school. He works more on research side, but he went to school for psychology and like done all this stuff. And he goes, I have no idea how I would counsel that. Because I have no idea what I would say.
Right.
Like,
you just hand them Oedipus Rex and be like, "Here, go. Have a good read." Like, I don't know what to tell
it
you.
might be healthy for you to read this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, he was like, they train you for what to do
Wait.
if you find out. Go ahead.
No, it's just been a while since I read Oedipus. Isn't there a lot of murder in that as well?
Yes,
Or am I
everybody
okay?
dies except Antigone and the sister whose name I never remember. I always want to call her Iphigenia, but that's not the right. No, that is the right. No, it's not. Never mind. That's Agamemnon.
Yeah.
I had to read a lot of Greek tragedies in college.
If
no,
you give him
I
that
read
book
it
to
one
read, they
time.
might murder.
Yeah, because he beats his father to death in the street.
Jesus.
And then
You said beats. I heard eats.
He eats his father. On top of marrying his mother and having children by her, he eats his father. No, he beats his father in the street. Goes, takes over his kingdom. Doesn't know it's his dad the entire time. Marries Jocasta. When Jocasta finds out, she goes and hangs herself. He stabs his eyes out and like goes into exile at Colonus. And then it's Antigone and the two brothers that then fight over the kingdom, and the sister left, because then that's what happens in Antigone. Yeah, there's a lot of murder in that play.
Yeah, I thought so.
Did y'all read that in school?
Mm-hmm.
I read like a brief text version of it in middle school or high school. I don't remember which one, but it was like a very edited down version. And then when I went to college, my major was psychology. One of my first classes, we read like the entirety of Oedipus Rex, and I was like, "What?"
Yeah.
Like, this is nothing like I remember.
That's definitely like a college book for sure, as opposed to like reading that in like 9th grade.
I read it.
My memory might not be the best. It might have just been like the concept of Oedipus Rex and like a brief summary paragraph of like the text. But like, I remember reading something about it before college.
We read the whole play in 10th grade. In 10th grade honors English, we read the whole play.
Oh my god! Yikes!
But we only read Oedipus Rex. We didn't read the other two. And then when I went to college, I was a theater performance major, so I had to read like 8,000 different Greek plays, and we had to read Oedipus Rex, Oedipus at Colonus, and Antigone, and like 5 different other ones. It's fucked up. It's wild. Like it's fucking wild. And obviously Freud takes it and is like, every man wants this, and it's like, no, that's no, you want no. Carl Jung is really into it too. He's the one who made the Electra complex. They're both crazy.
You say Carl's Jung? Like
Carl
Jung?
Young?
No,
I don't know
I've
how you
heard
say
of
his last
Carl
name.
Jung. It's just I thought you said like Carl's. Like I'm like that sounds like
Carl's Jung.
Like a fast food restaurant.
Because it is Carl's Jr.
Carl's Carl's Jung. If Carl's Jung is a restaurant, we have problems.
Yeah, Carl Jung is a bad guy. Don't read his stuff. He's a bad person.
Honestly, most people that are credited for psychological discoveries or practices are probably not someone you want to follow.
No.
Right.
It's really weird to be a theater and writing major in my bachelor's and now my master's, because there is so much stuff that we took from Freud that does apply to like acting and all that kind of crap, and Carl Jung, but they're also crazy, and in Carl Jung's case, super racist and super sexist. He was a very, very bad person, but he's the one who came up with the 12 main character types that is in every, like, the hero's journey is based out of his work. So it's like this weird place where you can't completely eliminate he was right on this, but he's a terrible person, and you have to find that way to like balance it. And obviously there are more than 12 characters in every story. These are just like the base ones, but
like one of those basic tools that people use.
Tolkien being the biggest one. Tolkien's characters fall exactly into his 12 archetypes and the hero's journey. Because I cannot retain Lord of the Rings for some reason. I swear to God, guys, I've seen these movies upwards of 8 times, and I couldn't tell you the plot of any
They're a
of
blur
them.
to me, to be fair. I remember a bunch of
Thank you.
a bunch of ugly troll orc-looking people. I remember a lot of screaming. I remember Frodo and Sam climbing a mountain.
Yeah.
There's a big spider. I don't like that scene.
I remember Gandalf. Jesus Christ, Gandalf's famous line. of course.
Yes.
Yep.
There are some trees that talk. I think orcs
And
are made
walk.
out of
Ents?
and walk because
Aren't they
that
called
scene never
Ents?
ends.
ENTS? Ents, right? Aren't they called Ents? Am I wrong? The walking
Something
trees.
like that.
I
Something
don't
like
know.
that.
I
Yeah.
was one and done on them, honestly. Clerks is better. You know, we're all in the same boat.
Wait, Josh.
Way to bring it
Okay.
back. Way to bring it back.
There we go.
You just said Clerks, right?
Yes.
Yes, the
I
hit
don't
Kevin Smith movie.
I don't know if you guys know this. I am a massive Kevin Smith fan. He is
Same
one
here.
of my favorite creators. And I had to go home to New York like a month or so ago. And we were coming back on the plane, and I was like, I just want to watch a movie and like chill because it's like a 6-hour flight. And they had Clerks on it. And originally, originally I was only sitting in a row with a 25-year-old man and a 40-year-old woman, and I have headphones in. So even with headphones in, nothing really is going to be offensive. They've all, I'm assuming, seen a vagina. So, and that's really the worst shot of that movie is the porn mag. And the row in front of us was this woman's 3 kids that were ages 5 to 12. And the one in the middle, who was like 9, wouldn't stop basically beating up his siblings. So she made him switch, but I was half an hour into Clerks, and I heard through my headphones, she leaned over the seat and saw her son looking at my screen and went, "Do not watch her screen." I was like, oh God.
Damn.
And of course, he absolutely did, and probably saw some really bad shit.
Wow. Wow. Could be worse. Could have saw the 3-nipple lady in Mallrats.
I know. Oh my God, they had Mallrats on there too, and I was like, I'm not gonna. I can't watch that one.
Mallrats is a better film.
You know the DC character Spawn?
Yes.
Yeah.
There was a really, really bad movie made of it, like in the early 2000s, I want to say.
Oh,
and
yeah, I remember.
My dad was watching it, and it's not a scary movie, but it has really weird like animation when it comes to like the clown guy and just the way the scenes are. And I'm peeking over the couch. My dad's like, "Don't watch this. It's probably not good for you." And I'm peeking over the couch and I'm watching it, and I legitimately like lost my shit as like a 4-year-old or a 5-year-old. Like I could not do it, but I kept coming back. I kept like running away and then coming back and looking at it over the couch.
That's funny you say that. I had the exact opposite experience where I watched that movie and then my dad was like, "Oh yeah, there's a HBO animated series too. Do you want these VHS tapes?" And I was like, "Fuck yeah, I do." And I watched that whole animated series.
Nice.
And
Of Spawn?
Yeah, of Spawn, and it's crazy, dude. I love it.
Spawn is really, really, really fucked up.
Oh yeah, and then I got the fucking PS2 game too, so exact opposites there.
Yeah.
Josh is just revealing that he's a major Spawn fan. Sorry, Alec, but
yeah. Something that my dad actually showed my sister and I when we were way too young, the Austin Powers movies.
Ooh.
And
naturally,
it's one of those like you know, they always say it's like, they'll be young. They won't remember this, so they don't know what's going on. Like looking back on it now, those movies definitely shaped my sense of humor.
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
I remember growing up thinking we actually had a mojo. Like we had to protect our mojo. I'm not. This isn't a joke. I remember when I was younger, I thought we had like an internal mojo that I didn't want to get stuck down in my body.
Damn.
My dad was actually how I got into Kevin Smith because I loved Harry Potter as a kid. Fuck J.K. Rowling now, but I loved Harry Potter as a kid, and like I have a Harry Potter tattoo. Like I was obsessed with Harry Potter, and my dad was like, "Oh, Alan Rickman is in the Harry Potter movies. Do you want to see another really fucking weird movie with Alan Rickman?" And showed me Dogma at 15.
At 15? Okay.
I was 15 years old and watched Dogma. My dad was like, "It's a weird movie where Alanis Morissette plays God." And like he explained to me like who Silent Bob was, Jane Silent Bob was. And so I watched Dogma. I was like, okay, cool, whatever. And then didn't really do anything with his career. And then I was like I was a 16-year-old girl, had teen Nick. Kevin Smith is in like 8 episodes of Degrassi. And so I saw him in these episodes of Degrassi and then making a fake Jay and Silent Bob movie. It was like, I think I'm gonna watch the rest of these. And like, yeah, like senior year of high school, I watched everything he had ever made and was like, I want to be him. I want to be this man. I cried when he had that heart attack because I thought he was going to pass.
Oh my god.
Doggo. Yeah, my dad was not good at telling when we probably shouldn't be allowed to watch movies. Because my dad will watch a 2-hour movie he can't stand just because he's amazed by how much he doesn't like it. But that means that, like, those weird, kind of racist kung fu movies that were not made by actual anyone Asian, he would turn them on, and he likes actual Japanese kung fu movies, and he would hate watch it. And then we, like, like, he hate watches everything.
This is not a phrase that I...
I hate watching?
Hate watching.
Yeah.
Gross.
Yeah, my dad's the opposite. He'd probably watch those movies and be like, "This is great." Like my dad just loves shitty movies. So then that's my like I know a movie is extra bad if my dad hates it. Like my dad loved Terminator. Was it Genesis? Was the one in 2015? The first one
I
with
think so.
like Jai Courtney. Loved it. He's like, "Oh, this movie's better than Mad Max." I'm like, "Dude, you're fucking crazy, dude." And then we watched Monster Hunter together, and he's like, "Yeah, that fucking sucked." And I was like, "Okay, I'm glad I'm not like alone here."
My dad is a big fan of like Death Race, and a
that's a
bunch
good
of there's another one that I'm blanking on, but it's very similar to Death Race. It's just like knockoff Death Race, and he's like, "This is my shit. These movies are great," and I'm like,
Right.
My
Yeah, any bad action movie.
My dad's favorite 3 things, and I swear to God, for as long as I can remember, my dad's Saturday morning routine is he gets up, he goes to the gym, he comes home, he makes himself a big pot of coffee, and he sits on the couch and watches Westerns on TMC and has 3 cups of coffee and then starts his day. And like literally since I was born. And he loves Westerns, kung fu movies, and then just like weird stuff. Like I saw Big Trouble in Little China for the first time because he showed it to me.
My
And
dad's
like
favorite movie of all time.
it's one of my father's favorite movies. He loves that movie. He will openly admit that he only saw Backdraft, which is one of Kurt Russell's best movies. It's a Ron Howard movie from the 80s about firefighters. It's very good. I highly recommend it. It's on HBO Max. He got into that movie because he saw Kurt Russell in Big Trouble in Little China. When he found out that they were remaking it with The Rock, he called me and yelled about how that was a terrible idea for, I shit you not, 40 minutes. It is my favorite thing to get my dad heated. He loves Star Wars. He's like, we have the original Star Wars that's just called Star Wars. It's not remasters, not anything that he bought in like the 80s. And he was like, they are his favorite movies. He gets so heated about it. I think he was angrier when people were bullying Kelly Marie Tran than anyone else on the planet. And he's not even on Twitter. And he was just raging about it. Like, he texted me, he was like, "Do you see what they're doing?" I was like, "Yes, but how do you know what they're doing?"
This is just like when they bullied Daisy Ridley off Instagram in 2015.
He was like, none of them really understand Star Wars. Like, none of you fucking get it. I was like, "Okay, fuck, dude. All right." Like,
You're right. I
was like, "All right." Cool, dude. I don't know what to tell you. When Last Jedi came out, and he didn't, because he's not in social media, he didn't know about all the discourse, and he really likes that movie.
Fuck yeah.
And I told him about all the like shit around The Last Jedi, and he was like, people just don't understand things. They just need to think that Luke Skywalker's this great fucking guy, and he's not. He's really fucking boring. Like, goes on this rant about why it's okay that Luke acts the way he does in Last Jedi. Goes on this whole rant about how it's real growth and no one understands what it's like to be an adult and have your dreams like ruined in a way, or have something this terrible happen to you where you feel it's your fault and you have to remove, like, went into this deep, and my dad's not a deep guy, went into this deep monologue about how like that showed that Luke had grown from the original trilogy and that he wasn't a 20-year-old kid anymore. He's like seen life and realized that things aren't as simple as good and bad.
Right.
And like, Truly, it's hilarious. I keep joking that I want him to come on podcast. I'm like, you have a nice mic now that you work from home. Can you please come on a Star Wars podcast?
I was literally about to say, as soon as you're like, yeah, my dad's the Last Jedi fan, I'm like, fuck yeah, I want to podcast with this man. But then after you just said that last bit about the monologue about Luke Skywalker, I want your dad to just fucking roast Jim Tasty for his shitty take on Luke Skywalker and the fucking
Yes.
Last Jedi.
That'd be
Fucking
another
give it to him,
level.
because fucking Brett just boils it down to fucking, oh, green titty milk, but it's like, dude, it's so deeper than that. So yeah, to like, and I try to get it across, but then he's like, you're Josh, dude, like just writes me off. He's like, you're some TikTok zoomer. But if your dad came in with that energy, holy shit, he would put Brett in his place.
You
And
just need
now
to
this is
Hell yeah.
all I want.
You just need to record him going on that rant.
Yeah.
Literally, I tell him all the time, like, you have a nice mic now and a nice camera. You can. He was like, what would I do though? I just sit in the office holding Bailey, who's their cat, and I was like, what do you think I do?
Yeah.
I sit down in my chair and hold Cleo. Like, I was like, it's so funny. And he goes, I don't think they'd be into that. I was like, Dad, I promise you this group of people would be into a 57-year-old man yelling about Star Wars.
And
They'd
he
all
can
be
go
okay
on
with
for
it.
as long as he wants. It can be 5 minutes, it can be 50 minutes. I don't care.
It's wild. It's so funny what movies he gets really lit up about. Like, I showed him Knives Out. I made him go see Knives Out because I saw it with
Great
Jordan.
movie.
Yeah, and he loves Agatha
Surprisingly
Christie and like all that kind of stuff. So I was like, go see it. You love Daniel Craig. Like, let's go. Like, I promise you'll like it. He is obsessed with that. He is obsessed.
I didn't know Daniel Craig had range until I watched Knives Out. Like, I thought he was just a pretty generic action guy. Like, you know, but to bring it back to my dad real quick, my dad introduced me to Dragon Ball, to Dragon Ball Z, and then my dad's he's not like, I'm an anime guy. He just likes Dragon Ball. It's just Dragon Ball and One Piece, and that's it. And the one time, my dad usually has bad movie takes, but The Big Trouble in Little China is like the exception to that rule. But the one time I was like, you got this one right, Dad, was when we watched Dragon Ball Evolution for the first time when I was pretty young. And the credits are rolling, right? And I look over at my dad and he's just like, that was shit, huh? And I'm like, yes, dude, like, thank God. But it took him a moment to like decide where he was like, did I just sit here and watch this? Like, whoa. He just looked over and said, that was shit, huh? I'm like, yes, thank you.
Listen, it's great. I love watching parents like react to things. It's my favorite. Like, because both of my parents will get so heated about things I would never expect them to get heated about. I just told them they need to watch Haunting of Hill House because they would both love it, and I've been trying to convince them to watch it for like since it came out.
I honestly think Midnight Mass is more digestible because like the whole like church aesthetic and how they lean into that is something that people have seen and has been done a lot of times, and it's not. I wouldn't say that any part of that show is scary. I would say there's ambiance that makes you uneasy, but there's nothing in there that's like a jump scare or anything like that.
They're not horror fans.
But that's even more of the reason why I'm saying Midnight Mass would be better.
Well, that's why I don't know if I want Midnight Mass to be their first one because my parents don't watch anything separately. Like, my dad would never watch a show by himself. Like, he always watches stuff with my mom, and I don't think the main I'm trying not to spoil anything, but the main antagonist, or what is the thing that is the reason everything gets going, would freak my mom out. Like, she wouldn't like that entire thing.
I think I love that the most. Like, this was a comic book not framed in a comic book sense.
Yeah.
Which is why I love it so much.
It's more, there are very specific, and when we do a spoiler cast on this, I'll talk about it more, but there are 3 very specific scenes that I know would really freak my mom out and that she like wouldn't like. And my dad would never watch anything without her.
Does it have to do with the cave?
No, it's in his
you don't have
I don't
to,
remember what they call the house that they live in, that the priests live in. I don't remember what they call that.
Monastery. I have no idea.
It's priest in house. There.
Priest house.
Priest house.
Priest house. It's in there right before shit gets real bad. I'll message you about it in Discord later.
Sure.
It upset me too, and I love horror. Like horror is one of my favorite genres. So like if I kind of gauge things of if something freaked me out, it'll freak my parents out.
Sure.
So
I
we
like
tried to
horror a
get them.
lot. I don't really talk about it, but it's one of my favorite things. And I do not lump Midnight Mass into the horror column. I just don't. It's a thriller in my mind.
Too spoopy
I
for me.
also am what?
I can see it being spoopy. I get
is
it.
spooky.
I don't like spoopy things.
It's not spoopy though. That's the thing.
Get
It's
it.
not spoopy.
But that's why I don't know if I would recognize Midnight Mass is a masterpiece and I
It's
will
so
hear no
good.
arguments against it.
Also,
Again,
Rahul kills it. Like I know we know Rahul's like a good
holy
actor.
fuck.
This might be his best role he's ever had in anything.
Truly, this does not spoil anything, but I went to a relatively progressive Catholic school. We were taught about Islam. But I learned more about it. So I've always kind of known their beliefs, but I learned more about Islam, like the nitty gritty of their beliefs in Midnight Mass than I've ever learned anywhere
Same.
else.
Yeah, when he says that Jesus line, and
Mhm.
I'm like, oh, I had no idea. Cool.
Yeah, that was really the only thing I knew was that they do hold the Virgin Mary and Jesus to very high
No idea.
esteem. They just don't look at them as like the Messiah. Which is like fine. That's the other reason I'm afraid to recommend Midnight Mass to some people is like I was okay facing my religious upbringing watching it, but my mom grew up in a small religious town and I'm afraid that some of the stuff might just like hit a little too close to home.
Yeah, I can totally see some people not being able to like separate themselves from that, and that just being like, nope, I can't. And I get that.
Yeah. And so I'm like, we're just not gonna go there yet. Watch Hill House. I truly think Hill House is the easiest one to stomach first.
Hill House or Bly Manor?
I think Hill House because I think Bly Manor gets a little weird where you have to really pay attention to how certain things work at a certain point. Where Hill House it doesn't really matter. And
I would say Hill House is the scariest though, is the thing.
Hill House didn't scare me. I don't get it.
I mean, it didn't scare me either, but I think it
Well,
attempts to scare the viewer more than Bly Manor. Bly Manor is more of a mind fuck, and Midnight Mass is like I said, it's more like a comic book.
Midnight Mass is the only one that scared me. There were legitimately things in
What
Midnight Mass that
are you
freaked me
talking
out.
about?
Again, I can't. I'll talk about Hill House and Bly Manor because I can't.
Save it
I can't
for the
talk to Midnight
spoiler
Mass.
cast that's coming in
Yeah.
a few weeks.
Yeah.
Do you guys know the cast of Midnight Mass? Because I was surprised.
Rahul Kohli, and that's it.
That's yep.
Okay.
So
Yep.
Have you guys watched Friday Night Lights, the TV show?
Nope.
Mm-mm.
Dang.
yes,
It was
I have,
it was
but-
actually a pretty good show. It was pretty like exaggerated and all that, like high school drama kind of a thing. But the
Mm.
quarterback on that show is in the show, and I was like, oh, I haven't seen him in a
Yeah.
long time.
Wasn't it the
he's
dude
in
from
it.
Longshot from Madden a few years ago?
No, not
Okay.
that guy. Okay, so yes, the other quarterback. The starting quarterback is the guy you're thinking of, yes, but the guy who replaces him in the show is the guy I'm referring to now.
Gotcha.
Also,
I'm getting all this from
in-
kind of funny lore. I'm just saying that.
Also, in all of everything Mike Flanagan has ever made is his beautiful, beautiful, beautiful wife, Kate Siegel, who I would die for. I have the biggest crush on this woman. She's in everything and she deserves it. Like,
Wait,
I
Kate
don't.
Siegel's in the show? His wife
Yeah.
is in the show?
Yeah,
Oh.
she's Erin, the one who she's
What?
Theo. Yeah, she's Theo in Midnight in Hill House and everything. That's his wife. She was in Hush too. She was
Huh.
the main. She was the writer in Hush. She is amazing, and she is one of the prettiest people on the planet. Like I'm obsessed with her.
I
But yeah.
have a question for you, but I'll wait till after the podcast.
Oh, okay.
It's kind of spoilery-ish.
Yeah. That's the problem. It's like I want to talk about it, but like I can't because I don't want to spoil it, and I want everybody to watch it because it's phenomenal.
We'll get there.
Yeah. Yeah. It's great. I don't know how to end this. I don't know if it's too early. I don't know what I'm doing.
We're
I
going
think-
about
I think
15
we're good.
minutes. Yeah.
I think we're good.
Alright.
Yeah, it's a good length.
All right.
I
Oh.
didn't answer earlier, but yeah, I would break up if I found out I was half siblings with my partner, and like we've been together since 14. Like I have no idea like I'm so inexperienced if I've been in one relationship since the age of 14. Like I would I'd go find myself. I'd just be like, fuck it. I'm just gonna go travel across like Europe and like overseas for a whole year and be one of those people who just lives in like, are they hostesses with like
Hostels,
multiple
yeah.
hostels with multiple people, and not just like
You're thinking of Bob
drink
Hostas.
party.
Sports
Yeah, Bob
commentator.
Hostas.
Did you mix up the word hospice and hostel?
Hospital. Wherever you stay with multiple people, that's what I just go
That's a
stay with them.
hostel.
Hostel. I would do recreational drugs. Like it would be
That
fun.
checks out.
You
That checks
know,
out. That checks out.
just
That
try
that last part
everything.
checks out.
And then I just try like
Right,
every
everything.
like sexual thing you could possibly do, and then just rediscover myself personally and sexually.
I don't.
If I found out that someone that my partner was my half sibling, so yes, break up with them. That's the easy, obvious, go-to answer.
Yeah.
And on that note, we'll see you next. Sign it off.